Welcome to another installment of This Is Not Normal on the Political Drain podcast with Drill Sergeant Doug, aka Admin Doug, a U.S. Army veteran, teacher, musician, and family man from Jamaica, now fights for justice and democracy through commentary and humor. Follow him on YouTube at Political Drain and at Sons of Liberty Official as Drill Sergeant, aka Admin Doug, continues to protect our freedoms.
On day 14 of this conflict, Mr. Secretary, day 14, nearly 5 months ago, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. That was on day 14 of the war. Was that an accurate statement?
They didn't have a Navy any longer. It was completely sunk. Their missiles were buried underneath a lot of their underground facilities, and their defense industrial base has been almost completely destroyed. So as far as a military assessment of Iran's capabilities, it didn't mean by any stretch of the imagination absolute zero, but their capabilities at the lowest level
you stated that on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Secretary. You said
What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here, and we've got a doozy. We've got a doozy today, so I'm just going to go right into these clips that you need to see. The first one, we're going to call this the tale of two inquiries. There's an inquiry that was given on Hegseth. You know, he was at the Congress yesterday where the Democrats just ate him up. Everyone's looking for that soundbite. Everyone's looking for that humiliating blow. And there was an inquiry that was a performance worth watching. A performance worth watching. But it was overshadowed by a inquiry that was both humiliating as well as enlightening to the people watching it. Humiliating to the person being questioned and enlightening to everyone watching it, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. Not that it will change anyone's mind, but the fact that it shows the competency or incompetency of the actual policies being discussed in such a way that Hegseth, Keg's breath, that drunken fool, that abuser, that white Christian nationalist who isn't even good enough to be on regular daytime TV, so they only put him on the weekends on Fox, but he's just dumb enough so a insecure orange maniac can make him the Department of Defense head, Secretary of the Department of Defense. That guy was shown for every bit of everything I just said without having to say it. That's the master class. Let's look at part one. And also when this is done, when it's done seeing the tale of two inquiries. One is pretty good and the other is perfect. We're going to talk about why they had this hearing yesterday. Today's Wednesday, the 22nd of July. And we're going to talk about what happened today as a result of those hearings. There's a lot. Here we go. Tale of two inquiries.
The Strait of Hormuz is still closed, reminding everybody it was open before the war. Prices were lower for everybody until the war, and it still remains closed. And of course, tragically, service members, our warfighters, who we care deeply about, are still dying. So what's different? Mr. Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth.
I think your characterization of this incredible effort as a failure is reckless. And I think it's irresponsible. And I think it smears the sacrifice of the troops that are out there making on behalf of the American people to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Shame on you and others who call this a quagmire and a failure, and then you want to turn around and say you support the warfighter. Either you do or you don't.
Is the nuclear material still there,
I can
sir?
get you a ticket out to CENTCOM and talk to what those Americans are doing, how committed they are to this effort, and how they want to ensure that Iran never threatens their families with a nuclear weapon. That's the kind of intensity that our warfighters have about making sure that Iran isn't capable of doing that.
Secretary Hegseth, if you listened to my comments, you would have heard me say how amazing our warfighters are.
I heard failure. I heard exactly
I will tell you how I use the word failure, because I use the word failure to their leaders. You, sir, are the failure, not the men and women who are on that front line, not the men and women who hold up their honor with distinction. But if there's a lack of a winning strategy, they're in harm's way. Their leaders have failed them. And that's what's happening. We have political leadership. You don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need to have leadership. When will you show leadership? When will you show leadership?
Why don't you show some leadership and stand up to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money? You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
Secretary Hegseth, you have trillions, you have over $1 trillion, you're asking for $1.5 trillion. It's not a question of money, it's a question of leadership and understanding what it takes to actually win.
Political cowardice of Democrats who won't fund the troops.
Senator's time has expired. This will conclude our hearing. I want to thank our witnesses for being present and the committee for what has certainly been a vigorous discussion.
I don't know about you, but the first thing that I noticed at the end of that clip is we've got to stop electing old people. There needs to be a time limit. There needs to be a term limit. There needs to be an age limit or something. What was that? What was after that exchange, YouTube? All of it is nullified by this reading the paper like this. And thank you for your service. Is she a fucking 120 or what? I don't care if you call it ageism. It is. Get out. What's wrong with you? You're not effective in that position. After what we just saw, to come back to daggone Elmer Fudd, the fucking turtle racing the hare. Oh, well, I just don't know what to say. The fuck are we doing? Anyway, sorry. That struck me more than anything else. This vibrating voice of an ancient fucking human species talking after what we just heard negates every cool thing that just happened from Gary Peters. Gary Peters was who you saw doing the questioning there. And he went in for the kill. He went in for the kill, and really, when he called him a failure to his face, you have failed these troops. It was done well. Unfortunately, it was done a second too late. Did you notice why it was done? It was done as a rebuttal, as a back and forth with this orangutan with hair grease in the seat. The minute you have to go back and forth, the minute you have to defend yourself, if you heard what I said about the people there, it was at that moment that every MAGA cultist will be able to turn their idiotic, stupid brain off and feel good and say, we got him, he's owning the libs. And the orangutan, the idiot in the chair who is, I'm not sure how he doesn't slide off with as much grease as he has in his head, dripping down the back of his white shirt, button down, that guy knows that all I have to do is say, what about defending the troops? Those troops worked hard. Every piece of what he said had nothing to do with the question asked. It was continuously, I would ask those troops who were there for this, and I believe that these troops did that. And the minute that you start to engage in what he's saying now, as opposed to what the numbers say and what he said before, because now he has you on the ropes. It doesn't seem like it, and he did come back. But I want you just to look at these few little things and see what I'm talking about.
With a nuclear weapon. That's the kind of intensity that our warfighters have about making sure that Iran isn't capable of doing that.
Secretary Hegseth, if you listen to my comments, you would have heard me say how amazing our warfighters are.
I heard failure. I heard exactly
I will tell you how I use the word failure.
Right there. You have to defend yourself. Here's another one.
Democrats who won't fund the troops, who stand and play partisan politics while you don't give us the money. You want to stand up here and talk about the troops? You won't show any political
Secretary
courage
Hegseth.
to actually fund our department because you have Trump derangement syndrome and can't actually commit to anything meaningful. So I put this on you, Senator.
Secretary Hegseth, you have trillions, you have over $1 trillion, you're asking for $1.5 trillion. It's not a question of money, it's a question of leadership and understanding what it takes to actually win.
Political cowardice of Democrats who won't fund the troops.
Senator's time has expired.
Right there, you see, you almost had it. You almost had it. He tells you that it's your fault. And you were like, well, you have $1 trillion. You have $1 trillion. You failed. Right there, it's a stalemate. And the next thing that comes up is an old frog painted white in the seat who said, the time is up. And it falls flat. Everybody on the left is going to love it. You called him a failure. You fought back. Everybody who knows that the Pentagon has more money than any other government agency times 1,000,000. That our United States military has more money spent on it than the next 20 militaries on Earth combined. Combined, they will say, Keg's breath looked desperate and foolish. I will say, when you have someone that actually desperate and actually foolish, going for the big kill and going for that performance, this is how you do that.
You're requesting roughly $68 billion for the department through the supplemental, correct?
67, yes.
And yesterday, your department stated publicly, quote, U.S. forces struck Iranian military command centers, maritime capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and air defense systems to degrade Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial vessels. That was a press release from your department. Is that a broadly accurate characterization of ongoing operations?
That sounds broadly accurate, yes.
On day 14 of this conflict, Mr. Secretary, day 14, nearly 5 months ago, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. That was on day 14 of the war. Was that an accurate statement?
They didn't have a Navy any longer. It was completely sunk. Their missiles were buried underneath a lot of their underground facilities, and their defense industrial base has been almost completely destroyed. So as far as a military assessment of Iran's capabilities, it didn't mean by any stretch of the imagination absolute zero, but their capabilities
Mr. Secretary,
at the lowest level
you
they've been in a
stated
very
that
long time.
on day 14 of this conflict, in the second week of the conflict, you stated that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Was that an accurate statement? Yes or no?
Iran's ability to challenge the United States of America at the level at which we're capable of.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Secretary. You said on day 14, Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and, quote, made combat ineffective. Yes or no? Was that an accurate statement?
What the American military has done to the
question?
Iranian military is a historic military
Will you
defeat,
answer the
and they're
question under
ineffective
oath?
in that context.
3 weeks later, you declared victory. That was now nearly 4 months ago. 3 weeks after you'd already said Iran's military was destroyed and combat ineffective, you said, quote, Operation Epic Fury was a historic and overwhelming victory. You said Iran's military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. And you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Were those accurate statements?
It certainly was, on behalf of the men and women in uniform, a historic military victory over Iran.
Had Iran's military been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come? That was a statement that you made 4 months ago.
They had 160 naval vessels
You need
in
to
the Blue
answer the
Water
questions,
Navy,
Mr.
and they're gone.
Secretary.
Their Air Force
You
is
said 4 months
completely
ago.
combat
You
ineffective,
said
and they don't
4
have a
months
defense
ago.
industrial base.
Excuse
So
me, Mr.
describe to me a country
Secretary.
that doesn't have an Air Force, a Navy, or a defense industrial base, and I will describe to
Secretary.
you a country that does not have an effective
Mr. Secretary,
military.
you stated,
it can lob missiles.
Mr. Secretary, you stated
missiles,
4
but it's
months
not a
ago
combat-effective
that Iran's
military.
military had been rendered, quote, combat ineffective for years to come. Has Iran's military been, for the last 4 months, combat ineffective?
It's been set back not just years, but likely decades.
You
considering
stated we
you
had,
can't build
quote,
at the level
you
it did
stated-
before, and not
you
even
stated
close.
we
It doesn't
had,
mean it
quote,
doesn't have capabilities.
Mr. Secretary, you stated we had, quote, achieved every single objective. Was that an accurate statement 4 months ago?
The main objective of this was to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. Their main sites were obliterated. We're watching over them, and we're holding them that issue. If they don't give them up at the table, there's other ways we can take them away.
Early in the conflict
Iran will
on
never
day
have a
3,
nuclear
Mr.
weapon.
Secretary, early in the conflict, day 3, you said one of those core objectives was to, quote, destroy the missile threat. And as you restated on day 5, to, quote, obliterate Iran's missiles and drones. Those were clearly and repeatedly stated core objectives of the campaign, which 4 months ago you declared had been completed victoriously with every single objective achieved. Were those objectives achieved 4 months ago?
No one ever stated that every single missile was gone. Ultimately, combat ineffective means they're not able to dig them out of their UGFs and shoot
Had
at
the
us.
missile
It
threat
doesn't mean they
been
don't
defeated
have
4
underground
months
facilities
ago?
where they put missiles in them and hold on to them because they're the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. So we never expected they would stop having capabilities to shoot. The question is at scale against an opponent like the United States of America, which went toe-to-toe with them in Iran couldn't and
You
cannot
stated on
handle.
March 8th, day 9 of the war, on 60 Minutes, you assured the American people of Iranian surrender. Does that remain your prediction?
Ultimately, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon to threaten the United States of America. That has been the objective, and it remains so.
So just to review, you will not answer whether your statement made on the 14th day of the war that Iran's military had been, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective was a truthful statement to the American people as you sit here and ask for tens of billions more
The
for the conflict.
senator's time has
Had a
expired.
historic and effective military campaign against the largest state sponsor of terrorism.
Won't
and
answer
will
the
ensure
question.
they never
Senator
get a nuclear
Peters.
weapon.
That's a masterclass. That's perfect. That was, I'm talking to my dog. I'm talking to my young child who is so stupid he thinks that I don't see the cookie crumbs on his mouth. You know, when you see that child and you ask him about the cookies, you ask him knowing you see the cookie crumbs on his mouth, and you take him through the steps to ensure that at the very last step, when you say, by the way, the crumbs are on your mouth, he knows at that moment that every step up until then, he's had to lie in order to get there. He could have been, by telling the truth from the beginning, he could have been saved. That's the teachable moment. That's what you're thinking is a time to play gotcha, and it will play well. It will play well on left-wing media, and for those people like me who loved it and said, yes, I love that. For Gary Peters, Jon Ossoff does what you do to people who are actually desperate, liars, who are absolutely inadequate mentally and emotionally to even be in the same space as you. You speak to them like a child. You roll up the paper and tap them on the nose like the little doggy. They are lesser than you. Hegseth is lesser than you. And you treat him as such. You bring out only what he has said. You make him go he and haw over things that he has said and he continues to say. Then you trap him with not only what he has said, but what he said right before he knew you were going to bring up what he said before. These are ways that you show your dominance. And by the end of that, Hegseth was so thoroughly destroyed, humiliated, that even in his last breath, when he tried to say something, Ossoff could just say he won't answer the question. While he's talking about the nuclear weapons, he says, didn't you say we got all of our objectives? We should never have a nuclear weapon. The minute you got caught up, Gary, you lost. It should have been simply, you said there were no nuclear weapons. Not, I didn't say that about them. I said it about you. No, at that point, you're going back and forth with a child, with an imbecile, with a fool. What you do is you say, I thought you said you didn't have any more nuclear weapons to blow up. What do you mean a nuclear Iran? Didn't you say you did that? I thought you said they couldn't fire any more missiles. What are you talking about? Didn't you tell the American people this was over? Why didn't you say they had underground missiles? You said they had no more. Why could we trust you with this money? The reason why Ossoff could just say what he said, and there's no need for the theatrics, is because of this.
According to a new report out this week from the Washington Post, Pete Hegseth is pushing the United States military to the verge of bankruptcy. So officials in Pete Hegseth's Pentagon, members of Congress who actually have access to these budgets and see what is being spent on what, are telling us we're weeks away. We are weeks away from having nothing left in the military. Nothing. The financial crisis is already forcing the military to make devastating choices. Training exercises and maintenance programs essential to military readiness are being slashed or eliminated entirely. Cover operational shortfalls. Do you know what happens to literally any aircraft when there's no budget for maintenance? Yeah, it doesn't stay in the air very long. But that is how dire the situation is. If Congress, which by the way, this is their last day, okay? Today, Wednesday, last day. Tomorrow, they are officially in recess for a full month.
And that's why you're here. That's why you're here. It's because you have expended the money that accumulates to more than the top 20 militaries combined on the face of the fucking earth. You've expended it and are dipping into the reserves for the fixing of planes and hopefully selling all the tanks to make new drones because old warfare is done with. You're still talking about submarines and warships because you're a fucking fool. That's been gone. That's done for. You only have those for show and to please 5-year-old orange people swinging his feet off the chair in his diaper. Please give me more warships, Daddy.
The reason why this money is being displaced so quickly, the reason why we're burning through millions, trillions, billions of dollars in one stage is because the ex-weekend Fox contributor that you put in charge really is a racist tool, really is a disgusting, narcissistic, racist tool. And he thought, I'm just going to throw everything at these animals, these monkeys, these sand N-words. And they're just going to come out and say, oh, Allah, oh, thank you, white man. Oh, white man, thank you. He really thought that. So he started using tomahawks. First thing. The most expensive stuff, just like the flashy president. And when he realized that didn't work, instead of going back, retreating, and starting again with a new plan, if he really thought it was that important, instead of that, he said, no, sunk cost fallacy here. I'm gonna keep on doing it. These N-words are gonna have to submit.
You've failed the American people. You've lied to the American people to such an extent that your lies, when they've come back around, are now asking us to the tune of $1 trillion to pay for them. That's why this one is more for us to remember how we treat lesser maggots. We stoically show them their failures to their face and have them admit to it. We don't give them a chance to derail us or fight back, or we don't defend ourselves. You just say, you, moron, have continuously done and said moronic things, and you cannot answer for them. I'm waiting for your answer. The time to fight is now.
Hey, yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads, it's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works.
That was the Political Drain podcast, which can be heard on www.groovechillradio.com/political-drain and can be viewed on the Political Drain YouTube channel anytime. Once again, thank you for listening to Groove Chill as we resist fascism in any form, pursue democracy, peace, and love.